What's up? Just a quickie video on my top four. It's kind of like three, but with a bonus. Top four. I mean, who does a top four list, right? Me, right now. My top four favorite underrated drummers. Drummers that don't necessarily get the acclaim that they deserve, but nevertheless are super creative and super great for what they've done in their careers. So the first one is Josh Freese. Not a household name, weirdly enough. Maybe now he is, that he's playing with the Foo Fighters. That's him kind of like getting what he's due finally, but awesome studio drummer. And believe it or not, he's probably played on like at least 15 to 20% of the albums that you actually listen to without you even knowing it. And those first two albums for A Perfect Circle, Mer de Nom, and uh, 13th Step, just awesome albums from a drumming perspective, from every perspective, really. But it's almost like he knows how to play the exact fill at the right time that you didn't know existed, yet it's still the perfect fill every time. So awesome records and awesome drummer overall. He's super versatile, and I like studying his technique because he's often seen as like a really simple drummer. But again, it's about like the right fill at the right time. He's great at serving the music rather than serving himself. He can definitely wail, but he doesn't unless he's like seriously called to do that. So the modesty is quite precious. Anyway, next, John Theodore, formerly of the Mars Volta, now of Queens of the Stone Age. So he's another drummer who's like finally, getting what's due to him with a household name band, and that's putting him more in the spotlight and showing the world how good he really is. But before, Mars Volta, kind of a more obscure experimental rock band, which is the kind of stuff that I like. It's probably going to be reflected on the drummers that I'm choosing for this list. But I mean, his performance on Deloused and the Comatorium and the other two albums that he did with Mars Volta too, but especially Deloused, was just awesome. Plays kind of like Josh Freese, the perfect stuff at the perfect time, except it's like on steroids, you know? And it's like what you can observe, like if you listen to my band, Guns of the Seneca, and my playing on that, you could definitely hear a lot of John Theodore influence from Deloused on that record. And there's good reason for it. Like a lot of it is super conscious. It's not just like, oh, he unconsciously has influenced my playing. Like, no, there's like several moments of that record where I was thinking, well, what would John Theodore do? So that's the WWJD that I live by, is what would John do? So he's awesome. Next, Shannon Larkin of Godsmack. He's kind of like a one band man, and everything he does is awesome. But that album Faceless, which I think was his first album playing with Godsmack, actually recording on the album, that was super influential for my drumming. Before I even started playing drums, it was like maybe a year or two before I started playing, that album came out, and I was like, dude, this is a fucking rock album, especially as far as the drums go. Next is kind of a sleeper, especially if you're not into this band, but it's Aaron Tate, formerly of Minus the Bear. I don't know if he's actually playing with anybody nowadays, but he was super good. Again, had a style that was kind of modest, but at the same time would kind of throw in little extra ride patterns or hi-hat 16th notes here and there, in a really tasteful but technical way that didn't take any attention away from what else was going on in the song. It always just enhanced it, and he was always like really good in terms of like the subtleties. But you could tell, like, I saw him live probably 4 times when I was living in New Orleans, because Minus the Bear would just love playing New Orleans. So got to see one of my favorite bands like every year, like if I wanted to. And I would always watch him live, and he was working hard. And I feel like he's a drummer that people just don't give enough credit, especially those first few albums of Minus the Bear that he recorded. So, anyway, that's my top 4 underrated drummer list. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave in the comments who you think are the most underrated drummers. I know mine's kind of rock biased, but yeah, holla. Nice new snare, right? Ludwig Copperphonic. Check it out.